Welcome everybody. This is what I hope will be a very special reading on millennials, and in particular I want to pay tribute and draw attention to Gonzalez. I will talk more about her shortly. Before I start, I want to thank you. Your comments have been absolutely amazing. I've been really fortified by them, really interested in them, so please keep up those comments. And also at the end of, no, actually not at the end of this video, I think in my next video I will describe how to go about getting private readings. So that's the housekeeping out of the way. When I was reading the comments, there was one by David who said maybe the Page of Pentacles represents youthful energy and young people. So I've been thinking, oh, I have to do a reading on millennials. And then today I saw the video of Gonzalez, the survivor of the Florida shooting, speaking. I'm sure most of you would have seen it, either clips of it or in its entirety. And I heartily recommend at the first opportunity to go on YouTube. She was interviewed extensively as a very articulate, gorgeous young Latina with a buzz cut. And she's emerged in a way as the face and the voice of that experience, but also something much bigger, much bigger. So make sure you see the 11-minute version if you haven't. There's lots of clips of her and various things, but it's the 11-minute version that I think is throwing the gauntlet down to America. So she basically, she calls out the National Rifle Association. She annihilates Trump, and she leaves the Republicans nowhere to hide. She is an extraordinary, gifted, and I think the new way forward for America to how to cope, not just with the Trump horror, but everything it represents, the deep corruption, the indifference, the divisiveness. What a young thing. She is amazing. So this reading is dedicated to her, and I wish her every power in the future, and I really hope I'm not overstating it when I think this is a movement that's not going to be put back in the box. So I was just thinking earlier this evening what spread I would use for such an important topic, and I thought I really wanted to do the Great Wheel, and the problem with that is it takes up a huge amount of space. You need a really big table and the camera wouldn't be able to encompass it and stuff. So what I'm going to do is a sort of modified version of the Great Wheel spread. Alright, so here we go. Gonzalez and the millennials. Gonzalez and the millennials. Gonzalez, the millennials. Okay. Now to begin, it starts with the traditional 4 cards. How very interesting is that? Okay. So, at the very center of the reading, the system, the hierophant, how things are done. Several things spring to my mind about this card in this position. On the one hand, it's the core problem for the millennials because they have been born into an era where they are expected to toe the line. In what isn't a society anymore, we've been sort of enculturated to this idea of, oh, we live in an economy. No, we don't. We live in a society. So the Hierophant represents both good and bad in the sense of the things that make the system work, and every society needs law and order. but it is also representative of the patriarchy and the old way of doing things. So we'll see how that figured. Also critical to this reading is the Republican card, the fake happy families, performing families. And it leaves unconventional families and single mothers and LGBTQI families and everything else out in the cold. It's that heteronormative idea of the polished nuclear family. But countering that, we have the sun, a new day. Right. At the root of this reading, I would say, and I'm going to attribute this to Ellen Gonzalez, the Empress. So for the purpose of this reading, she is the Empress. Now we have what's overarching this reading, the King of Wands. Conventional masculinity could be seen as Trump. In this, I'm seeing it very much as Trump. So the Empress is in direct opposition to the man who has the power but doesn't have the intellect or compassion to wield that power. So let's see what's happening from here. This would normally be done in a big circle, but as I said, I'm not going to do it in this way. So let's look what's coming through here. All right. Okay. Next door to Trump, we have the Nine of Cups, which is the merchant trader, back to the emotions, but the merchant trader who is very out of touch with his own roots, if you like. With this card, my feel is this isn't an aristocratic figure born to wealth. This is, let's say, the guy that wasn't born with much but acquired a lot of wealth and didn't care how he did it or who he trod on to do it, and still doesn't care. So in a way, I'm going to say this card represents this era in time of capitalism that we are in. In other words, workers are disposable. You know, so it doesn't matter how hard you work or how willing you are to work. You're at the mercy of a system with no protections. You know, this is what the millennials are born into, right? They're supposed to subscribe to the idea of the happy families, but they're earning shit wages and they can't afford housing. And so this is all of those. It's the Trumps, it's the Kushners, but it's also a lot of big business. It's a very out of touch money card. Okay, here coming up on the horizon is the Queen of Cups. Now, okay, in relation to the Empress, the Queen of Cups is much older, but I'm going to say, in this sense, older women as opposed to one woman, because it's a more general reading. So, older women who have been, if you like, maintaining the patriarchal status quo of the King of Wands and the Hierophant. In other words, older women who have also turned a blind eye to the things that are wrong with society, because traditionally they didn't have the power to have the roles to change things, and have just gone along with it to some extent. But this is also a source of deep emotion and mother energy, and I think what's happened with this shooting is the mother energy has been awakened. and I would collectivize it in a broader sense to the parent energy. It's not just the mothers. Of course, the fathers are horrified and worried, but it's essentially going to have to be the older women joining with the younger women to support them and offer their strength and wisdom even in situations where they couldn't exercise it themselves. What's working against that energy a bit is for older women who are committed to their jobs and they might be in stale marriages and not wanting to leave, or wanting to leave but not actually deciding to leave. The desire that this is all too much, it's too overwhelming, this new youthful, angry energy, and may want to leave. But I think the genie's out of the bottle here. I think it's so out of the bottle. And here we have the Lovers card in a very nice position. And with the Lovers, again, we're talking collectively. So this is people coming together, okay? It's not just about a couple going on a date. This is big stuff. This is the big protective angel and people coming together. And it represents the force of love. So even though many millennials are angry, they also are coming with youthful hearts that want love and deserve love. Here we have the Two of Wands, which I think, how to put this, I think in this context of this reading, this to me speaks of, as the initial energy sort of shifts and changes from the horror and the sadness and the outrage of now, this is a more sensible figure that holds the globe. Okay, so more sensible in the sense of the calmer response to these really big issues. And what are the lingering issues? Well, that would be greed, delusion, shallowness, and selfishness. Okay, it's the classic, it's the Seven of Cups, with this figure dazzled by those things, right? So I hope I'm making sense here. I'm a bit emotional as I'm doing this reading because I just re-watched that video, but that's how I see it. What they're up against when this cools down to some extent is that thing that, oh, well, you know, it'd be nice if things were different. And by the way, I just want to make money and have more than the next guy, and, you know, superficial things will make me happy. And it reminds me, many years ago now, we haven't even seen Jerry Seinfeld on screen for God knows how long, but I remember reading somewhere Jerry Seinfeld had 27 Porsches. I'm sorry, is that not the definition of a profoundly out of touch guy? You've done really well, Jerry, you've earned millions. Have a nice car. Have a couple of nice cars if you're a zillionaire. 27 Porsches? I mean, was he paying for literacy programs in his neighbourhood? Was he funding anything for the homeless that he drove past in one of his 27 Porsches? Did he do anything for the world? Did he fund cancer research? Maybe he did. If he did, please get back to me. But I don't know why I'm singling out Seinfeld. He's, in fact, what I'm trying to describe is the worst of American shallowness and excess. Okay. Now, these two cards represent what's going to happen in terms of how the system is going to react to this movement. And these are very interesting. I'm going to continue to get away with what I can get away with, and I don't care who likes me and who doesn't. this is the guy with the sword, won a few battles, but everyone else is walking away. And this is the card of disappointment, traditionally. They're going to be very disappointed that they're losing power. Hello. And they're losing power because they've lost the emotional ground that's now occupied by the millennials. And I think the Queen of Cups more generally is anyone who supports the millennials with their heart. Okay, so traditionally read as disappointment, but with the cups falling over because they failed to nurture their own emotional world and that of their children and that of our children. All right. So these would be, I'm sorry, I've been going on without the cards down here. These would be done normally in concentric circles, getting bigger. So we now have the challenges for the millennials to take that on. So what I was just describing was the reaction of the old guard to this new movement. Here we have the hard-working apprentice reversed. So if you like it, it's sort of describing in a way the futility of that mode of work. The millennials were promised happy families via celebrity, the quick fix. You're American. You've got every chance that you're going to be a millionaire. It's a level playing field. It's up to you. You just want to be a winner, and you can be a winner. Okay? I'm croaking. This is sort of dispelling the idea of traditional work. And if they stick with the traditional work, being badly paid and badly treated in dead-end insecure work, they would be well placed and well advised to reject it. But there's an opportunity coming. The Knight of Cups. The opportunity is on the horizon. It's not going to be without hard work. They're going to work very hard, okay, to pull things together. The Knight of Pentacles. I've often described this as the card of the mercenary. It's interesting, so much is coming up about work. I think, again, when the heat sort of dies down around this issue, what young people are going to be talking about is their work lives and what that means. So they're disenchanted with the nature of unproductive work. They're forced to work really hard anyway, and they're forced in a way to having to be mercenaries and work for whoever will hire them. In other words, what we call in sociology agency. So you're given a set of conditions in life when you're born, then social conditions act upon you, as well as, you know, opportunities, accidents, injuries, the vagaries of life, and then you have agency, which is what you do with each situation. So their wings have been severely clipped, and they're seriously unhappy about that. So I think what I'm saying in a predictive capacity here, you're going to see this debate in the next months, in the next year, go seemingly suddenly over to the realm of working conditions. But the Page of Wands is coming up. So remember the opportunity. This is an opportunity then for the Page of Wands to speak. And this is a great orator. Now, I've said here, Gonzalez, for the purpose of this reading, is fully entitled to be called the Empress. But this is a very inspired speaker. And it might be Ellen, it might be someone else. But it's someone who is the voice of this new way of doing society. Yep, and they don't care. It all has to come down. When you have a private reading with an astrologer, not astrologer, tarot reader, usually it'll be explained to you that the death card doesn't always mean death, and that the Tower can be the breakdown of everything that's gone before. And it has to happen before new things can happen. So I'm thrilled to see the Tower in this position. Yeah, it's the death of the old way. The Tower, that is, let me put this with the Hierophant in the middle, the old way of doing things, okay, the old way of doing things, the Hierophant, is going to come crashing down and die. Okay, do not think this is a bad thing. This is an essential thing. If I was seeing more of the same, then I'd be depressed. Then you'd have a reason to be worried. This is good news. And it gets better. Truth wills out. So, as I often explain, because I'm doing these very dark readings, and each card has a spectrum of meaning, I'm going back to the original meaning of the Ace of Swords, truth. So let's finish with the old adage from Superman, truth, justice, and the American way. Wow, guys. Wow. So that wasn't the Great Wheel, but you get the idea. It has a lot of cards, and it's really beautiful when it is laid out in a circle. I had to do that reading for you. Please go to YouTube if you haven't seen her. Okay, I'm going to do another reading for you tomorrow, probably something a bit lighter, and I will chat about how you can get in touch with me. Okay, love you all. Keep those comments coming. Comments, more comments. Love those comments. Thank you. Bye.